We're local. Get the help you need face to face and at no cost. Come see why we're the difference between advice and good advice. When you come see us, we'll treat you just like family as we put the care in Medicare.
Call 355-5700. Coverage you can count on. Local 3 News.
A lot of us have been accustomed to giving blood over the years, but now you hear talk about the need for plasma donations. For most of us, probably a bit unusual to think about, maybe a bit unnerving to think about as well. But there is a new company in Chattanooga called Grifols, and that is completely what they do, and they make it very easy. Jessie Baker-Bear is the one who's brought Grifols to us in Chattanooga. She wanted to bring Melanie Smith, who is also with her at the company, along to kind of explain to us how it works and how beneficial in lots of ways it's going to be. So welcome to you both. And congratulations, Jessie, because you're what, less than 2 weeks away, right at it, from opening officially.
We are. So we'll be opening, first day of operation will be November 7th. Our hours of operation are going to be 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. all 7 days.
Wow.
So we can make sure to accommodate donors who are working on the weekdays and donors who work on the weekends.
So let's talk first of all about the plasma donations, then we'll get into the operating procedures at Grifols. But it's a real need for more health issues than people might think.
Absolutely. So plasma donation, what we do is essentially downstream the plasma proteins that are naturally occurring in our body are isolated through that donation process, and we're able to utilize those and manufacture them into medication for people who have rare illnesses. Typically, if you have a protein deficiency, you're at risk to develop a chronic illness, and often plasma therapeutic derived medication is probably the only way that we can do a real good life.
My ears perked up. She and I were talking a little bit, and you mentioned, you can't go through the entire list, but hemophilia is something that's very beneficial or finds benefit from this. You said that is it the RH in pregnancy? Am I saying that right?
Yes, so we play a role with that. In addition, we have alpha-1. Plasma therapeutics are used in so many different scenarios, from different types of creams and paste and surgery down to treating rare diseases like alpha-1.
So that's the one that piqued my interest, because I have an alpha-1 marker. I don't mind saying that. So it means if you're an asthmatic and you have had chronic problems, sometimes you can have this alpha-1 marker, and it's a protein deficiency, I think, right? That makes you more susceptible maybe to the problems?
Yes, absolutely. And there is actually surprising, we found when we moved into Chattanooga to start opening the center, you guys actually have a phenomenal CRC group here that represents the Alpha-1 community, boards of pulmonologists and group of doctors that actually just really focus on that treatment.
So much so that I think you told me when you have your grand opening on, is it November 4th?
Yes.
You're going to have some of those doctors there,
yes,
right?
We'll have a pretty good turnout. The chamber, first and foremost, they're fantastic here in Chattanooga. We had such a good welcome. So we'll have some chamber members there, but most importantly, we'll have some CRC members, representation, and in general, just a lot of the community that really helped us build and get the center going. But we will be doing our ribbon cutting, which is open to anybody who'd like to come. At 5 p.m. November 4th, we will be serving food from, it's a silverware affair.
Yes.
They're amazing.
They are amazing. They're well known around town. So Melanie, I want to bring you into the conversation, because this is just part of the reason why the plasma donations are so important. But y'all know from a business model, you got to get people in to make the donation, so you've got a different methodology at Grifols.
Yes, so we compensate you for your time. When you come in and do donations, you're able to donate twice a week in a 7-day period, and that's just for your safety, and all the medications get used and all the donations are very valuable.
So on that side, Jessie, some people might wonder, well, if just anybody can come in and donate, that could be a problem. Y'all are very careful about who you accept.
Yes, it's a pretty thorough screening process. So we have Grifols.com. We'll give you some great information on what criteria we're looking for a donor. But you're always welcome to actually just come into the center as well. And in our screening process, we have physical examination and quite a hefty process, not just to make sure that the donor is a suitable donor for the therapeutic medication, but also to make sure that the process itself doesn't harm a donor. So we're always going to be looking two-pronged. Donor safety, is the process safe and okay for the donor? In addition, is the donor suitable for criteria on the plasma end of things.
So what does it look like if I came in and said, okay, Jesse, I want to help somebody, I'll give. So I go through this kind of 3-hour initial visit, right?
Yes, that initial visit does take a little bit more time because what we're going to do, we'll come in and we'll register you in the system. So we create a profile for you with a picture, a finger scan, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
We'll go through what we call a basic screening assessment, which is going to be a finger prick where we get a hematocrit reading. With that, we get a total protein off that hematocrit spin. In addition, we have blood pressure, pulse, weight. That's all taken every visit. From there, as a new donor, you move into what we call a physical examination, where one of our medical team is going to assess the donor and perform an actual physical exam. And again, that the goal in that is to make sure the process is going to be safe for the donor. That's the first step. We've got to make sure we're doing right by the donor. And then in addition, they'll have some criteria to make sure that they're a suitable donor.
Okay, so you've gone through those steps, you pass with flying colors, now you're donating. So what does that look like? Because if you're concerned about the safety of the donor, it must be somewhat lengthy. You're there.
So we have the luxury of using Aurora XI machines, which are fantastic. They're incredibly high end. They do a lot of the work for us, but essentially once the donor's made it to the donor floor, they're going to get what we call venipuncture.
Can I say that one more time?
A venipuncture. So
venipuncture, okay.
Yep. So if you go to the doctor and they draw blood, you typically have a phlebotomist performing a venipuncture.
Yes.
So
okay.
Our phlebotomy team will perform that, and what they're going to do is connect you to what we call a pheresis machine, and that machine itself is going to draw the whole blood into the machine where it's going to actually spin and separate the red blood cells from the actual plasma. So,
are you watching it while it happens?
Yes. There's a lot of eyesight over it. We do have a legal requirement to have phlebotomy oversight with a certain ratio number. Everything is monitored the entire time though, to make sure the donor is comfortable, but the donation is going to plan.
And if I'm the donor and you've done the venipuncture with the phlebotomist, my vocabulary is expanding, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching as my blood is going through that tube, I guess.
Yes.
And then do I see it spinning?
Yep. It's a little harder for the donor to see their own machine because it's going to be a little bit off to the side of them.
Okay.
But they'll be able to see other machines, and in general, walking onto the floor, you'll see that process of the blood being drawn into the machine and spun and separated. And the interesting thing with the plasma side is that our phlebotomists are so talented. They actually have to learn how to perform a venipuncture for what we call a draw and a return. So that machine is going to draw from them. It's going to do that separation process we've been talking about, and then the machine, once it's collected enough, is actually going to click into what we call a return, where it's returning those red blood cells.
So I'm seeing all of my blood, well, if I look that way, I'm going to see my blood and my plasma spinning, right? And then when it's all over, what's left is my plasma, and the blood comes back to me.
Yep, so and it'll alternate back and forth doing that. So at the very end, they'll see what we call like a bottle of plasma. It's gold. It's actually really neat how plasma looks once it's been isolated and collected.
Like it literally is gold?
Yep, it can range from straw-like to gold-like in color.
Wow.
So it's pretty interesting that it's kind of like, we like to refer to like the gold of life.
It's liquid gold, yeah.
Yep, little plasma jargon.
So where does it go from there?
From there, what we'll do is the donor, the plasma bottle is retained and taken to a lab. All of the rest of the soft goods utilized on that donor are automatically put into a bio-waste, so they get thrown away.
In other words, people don't have a way of finding out anything about your personal information as the donor.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. And then once we take it to the lab, our plasma processors are going to draw a few samples off of that. Every single unit that we collect is always going to be tested for things that cannot be fractionated or just in general disease that could exist and be undetected. Again, we have a huge quality profile with Grifols. One of the most important things downstream is the fractionation and the assurance that we are providing good quality plasma.
What does that mean, fractionation?
That is the part. So once we actually collect all the plasma, we'll put it into a freezer that runs at -36 degrees Celsius, very cold.
Okay.
That helps maintain that protein. When we ship it out to our actual fractionation plant, what they'll do is go through a series of processes to basically essentially filter the product and make sure that we are pulling out any things that are not required or needed. There's going to be a separation process. If you go to Grifols.com, there is a little bit that you can find about the fractionation portion, but it is essentially a year from the day that you donate to the time frame where that actual unit would be ready for.
Wow. So that shows just how great the need is then, because if like, you're just now bringing it to Chattanooga, it's a national company, but you're just now bringing it here. So for a year, our donors haven't been able to give, and it'll be a whole nother year before you reap those rewards,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
And does it stay local, or once it hits the Grifols infrastructure, it could go to anybody in the country?
Once it hits that infrastructure, it could go to a lot of different things. You have a research
Okay.
sect, you have actual fractionation into pharmaceutical medications. So that
Okay.
is we probably need another 8 hours, I think, to go over that portion.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I think above all else, you know, COVID, we lost about 25% of production, meaning a 25% decrease in donors coming in. So 2021, 2022, we're still trying to catch up from that deficit we had then.
Right.
And unfortunately, people are still being diagnosed and still need those treatments. So we're trying really hard to increase our supply because there's a heightened demand for it.
Well, to know that you may have something truly within you that could save a life and you didn't even know it, and they're going to make sure that you're protected before you come in and begin to give. But why not try it and see if you could really be life-changing and saving for somebody?
Absolutely.
So your grand ribbon cutting is November 4th.
Yes.
You begin to see patients on November 7th.
Yes.
But people can go ahead and start making those appointments if they want to.
Yes, they absolutely can. So we will do what's called scheduled appointments for new donors as well as walk-ins. The day we open, you're welcome to walk in, and or you can call our center and we'll actually schedule you an appointment. Once you've made your first donation, we do shift you to what's called an appointment system. And that makes sure that we just honor the donor's time because it takes a lot of time and commitment. And we want to make sure that we always uphold that standard for the donors, that their time is valuable.
Right.
So the goal is once they've made it through, they're in and out on their second donation after an hour.
And let me tell you this, if you're a little bit nervous, if you make that appointment and you're not quite sure of what to expect, she was not sure of what to expect when she came here today. And she breezed right through, so she's going to promise you the same comfort level when you go to make your appointment. So their phone number is 855-1085. If you want to go online, it's grifolsplasma.com. Their office is right there on Brainerd Road in Chattanooga. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba